Welcome to the EMN podcast, where philosophy meets disaster and uncomfortable truths meet the profession we call emergency management. This is not safe space thinking. This is the arena. Let's begin. Oh, that was weird. Good morning.
Without me, what the heck, man?
I started without
in the middle of a live thing. What's happening?
I started without me. What are you talking about? I hit go and we weren't even in the studio yet. Good morning, everybody. This is Todd DeVoe here, coming to you live from Los Angeles County. Dan.
Yeah, well, I'm not in Los Angeles. I'll tell you that. I'm in Oklahoma, where it's freezing right now.
It's it's not freezing here, but the rain
here. It went from beautiful 70-degree weather in December to 13 degrees overnight.
Whoa. Yeah. That's why I like living where I live. That's why I like to tell people I am from New York. I don't live in New York anymore because this weather can't beat it. Except for last week, we had some serious rainstorms that came in, started hitting the same rainstorm system that hit Washington and Oregon that caused damage there, swept down to Northern California, did some damage there, hit here in Southern California, and did some severe damage down here as well, especially in the burn scar area. And unfortunately, I believe the storm, so far, as far as I know from news reports, I think it's taken a total of like 9 lives.
Well, they call that an atmospheric river now.
Atmospheric river, absolutely. It's a
term that was developed about 3 years ago that we started hearing every year now.
The AR.
Atmospheric rivers, and these things are getting worse. So
is it getting worse? Well, again, the climate change situation, but or is it is it getting worse in the built environment?
No, it's getting it's getting these storms. They're newer in the way that they're forming, which is why the term has come up with atmospheric river. But they're strengthening, which is happening because last year the atmospheric river was technically, they were calling it a hurricane while it was over water, or a tropical storm while it was over water. They were going to upscale it to a hurricane. Then it hit land and it was an atmospheric river, and it was because of the way that it did things. So it transitions in terminology, but they were almost going to call that atmospheric river last year a hurricane off the west coast.
Right. Is that kind of where Hurricane Hillary came into play? In that same?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But it was definitely the way that how bad it was, and then how it went over land, and then how it went across the United States.
One of the issues that we have here, in California, especially Southern California, with our topography, is these storms tend to stall, right? And so instead of just like raining and moving on, they tend to stall, and they just dump a ton of rain on top of us.
And that's why they're being called atmospheric river.
Right.
Is because they sit there and then they just kind of dump water, and the storm mixed with the winds and and depending on where they are, the weather could be different. It could be slurrying, it could be snowing, it could be tornadoes.
Yeah, we had tornadoes.
Which we had a tornado in Santa Cruz,
yep.
Which is right below where I work in Gilroy, the county to the southwest of us, and they had a water spout that turned into a tornado at Santa Cruz. So, and that Santa Cruz, we get something there every year. It's usually in the hills. They have a funnel cloud, or we had in Prunedale, we had a small tornado. There in Fresno, there were tornado warnings. This is new to California, or newer, I should say. It's not like it's never happened before. It's just that it doesn't happen consistently or on a regular basis. So a lot of things are changing in the things that we need to respond to, or potentially have an experience with in different parts of the country. And here on the West Coast, or on, where we're dealing with this stuff, these atmospheric rivers are posing a lot of problems and issues that we've dealt with before, but we deal with all at one time.
Yeah.
With an atmospheric river, because you got the winds, you got the water, you got the flooding, then you got all the everything else that comes along with it. And depending on the weather, can lead to other things like a tornado and water spout, stuff happening.
One of the things as well that we have now backing right up between the atmospheric river is the ground gets saturated, right? And this in my backyard, just as an example, looked like I had like just a good inch of water just sitting on top of my grass. And then today we have the Santa Ana winds coming in, and with those winds kicking in, with the way the ground's saturated, I know for sure we're going to have trees down around the Southland for sure. I should say for sure. I would estimate that we're going to have some trees down around.
Well, you can anticipate this type of stuff from experience, right? You can predict certain things based off the experience that you have there and the conditions that present themselves. I mean, here in where I am in Oklahoma, you experience things a little differently, but you experience some pretty strong. You experience strong winds. It's not something that's new. Tornadoes is not something that's new. Freezing weather, snow, not something that's new. But when you're driving by, a house that has been crushed by a tree and the car's been lifted up on it, and in December, that's something that you're like, wow, you don't think about some of this stuff sometimes. Like, wow, not only did that destroy a home, it destroyed a car, and it was just strong winds blowing through because it saturated ground. It knocked a tree over. A pretty big tree. So, but yeah, we experience these things differently. I mean, me and you were having this conversation just a few days ago, where it's they get a water spout and a tornado, zero in Santa Cruz, and people are like, from here are like, oh, that's not a big deal, right? But here they get 3s and 4s tornadoes, and it's like, it's a big deal to them. But here they get them so often that they could become kind of numb to it a little bit. But someplace where they do not get tornadoes, a 0 or a 1 is life altering.
Right.
It's wow, like a tornado just came through here and destroyed our business, destroyed our car, just lifted our boats out of the water. It's life changing. Here, we were talking about this too. Oklahoma gets more earthquakes now than California does because of the fracking. Wow. So they get a 3 here and they're upended. We get a 3 back there. We're sleeping through it. So it's one of those things. We can get numb to these things. It really is perspective and perception that really does alter. Look at stuff.
There's the old saying, like, the big one is relative, right? A 4.5 earthquake, everybody goes, that's not a big deal. But man, if you're at the wrong place at the right time and it shook the brick off the building and it kills you, that's the big one for that person.
Well, absolutely, it could be. Yeah. It could be. But you also think too. There's in California that we have building codes for earthquakes. In the Midwest and parts of the South and stuff, they don't have building codes. You can pretty much build whatever you want, a home to your own standard. So they don't build to the same standards or the same codes and the same regulations. And a 3.5 earthquake here can destroy a home. Huh. So we got to think about that. I mean, our perception and how we look at things, we have to change the way we think about disasters happening in different geographical areas. I mean, you see overseas, obviously in third world countries. Well, think about it in our own backyard. I mean, there are people who've built a home to their own standard based off of not having any regulations or codes to go off of. And yeah, they could be one tornado, one strong straight line wind, one earthquake away from losing it.
Absolutely. So, you know what? I mean, today we're here to talk about the year in review, and what does that mean for most people? It's like, hey, what's going on in the world? What are we thinking about happening in the world? I guess, for lack of a better term, or what happened, I guess, last year, and I guess those storms for sure were last year's storms as well. But one of the things I want to get into is what are the biggest issues, biggest news stories, biggest impact that we had that impacted emergency management last year, and that's kind of where I'm thinking about right now. What do you got going on in your head on that?
Well, the whole FEMA in review, FEMA revision, FEMA dismantling, FEMA, however you want to, whatever the news headlines wanted to come up with for talking about it. But FEMA is under scrutiny. It's under review right now, and whether or not we're, how things are going to interpret that in itself, even with nothing having changed yet, has changed the way states, counties, and cities are doing things or not doing things. We've had, in our county, the county's cut off funding because they're afraid the FEMA is going to cut off funding because the state's cut it off. They haven't even cut off funding yet, but yet they're planning for it. How ridiculous is that? It hasn't happened yet. Nothing's happened yet, but the things are already starting to happen at the lower levels out of fear. Fear that it might happen.
Is it fear or is it being prepared?
No, it's fearful. It's not being prepared. I can tell you that, because you don't prepare for when it comes to this type of stuff, funding that's already been awarded by the federal government to disperse, and then you're going to cut it off because now you're afraid no more money's going to come. Or
are they afraid it's going to claw back?
No, I think it's fear. It's definitely fear-induced decision making, which is understandable.
Oh, we're having an earthquake right now.
Are you? You feeling an earthquake right now?
Yeah.
Dude, no way. I don't see anything moving. You're not moving. Move around. Move around. There you go.
It was a little one. Probably if you're walking, you probably wouldn't even felt it.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, like for the little one, for here, they would have probably been under the door, under the tables and everything. So that's what we're just talking about. But yeah, I think the whole FEMA situation, that's definitely for this last year has been a huge thing. It's going to be a huge thing going into 2026. As we know, things were stalled or halted or canceled because of leaked documentation. Who knows? And then you go administration for administration. So a lot of people are like, well, whatever they changed here, the next administration could change it back. We just don't know. But just the thought based off of, administrative or people in power saying that FEMA could go away has definitely changed a lot of what is happening or planning to happen, or caused a lot of chaos inside of emergency management. The emergency managers, the way they think, a lot of planning processes that we were working on that would have naturally in our head been something that we could have gotten grants for or something like that, has stopped because we're like, we don't know if the money's going to be there. And we know our local jurisdiction or whatever can't afford it. So it's definitely going to crimp a lot of things if it hasn't already. But this last year, the biggest aspect in my mind is FEMA's, the threat that FEMA is going to be go away, which I don't feel like it will, and I don't think that it should. I think it should definitely be reviewed and be restructured and all that stuff. But just the talk of it has definitely thrown some crimps into the emergency management professionals, planning and training. And of course, we had along with that, we had the shutdown that took place, which was the longest one we've ever had. And that definitely threw some wrenches in our system. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to look back on.
On the federal side, one of the things I think is interesting, and I feel there's lack of Well, I mean, I shouldn't even lack of. There's zero. There's no outward leadership coming out of the federal government as far as FEMA goes, right? And yes, I mean, we've had people who were like, and not to their own, like for instance, Cam. You know, it wasn't his fault. He was muted and handcuffed a bit to what he could do. It wasn't really, then they put Richardson in behind him again, um, um, really without a direction of what FEMA would look like. And so I don't want to say, I this is very harsh criticism here, and I don't mean it. It's nothing about the men and women who are working at FEMA right now, but outwardly speaking, it seems like it's an utterless ship, and I think it's designed that way by this administration, specifically through the Secretary's office of Homeland Security, and we can't really. I don't see people look in that direction. For leadership and emergency management, which I think that means that there's a void right now in where emergency management is going at the federal level due to that, and I don't know if that's going to be fixed anytime soon.
I have a little bit of a different view of it, and it is going to sound like I'm criticizing. But it's one of those things. Have you ever read that book, The Iceberg is Melting? Our Iceberg is Melting?
Yes. Yes.
If you haven't, for anybody who's out there listening.
Blanchard, right? Ken Blanchard?
Yeah. So it's a great book. It's called Our Iceberg is Melting. I've read it a couple times, but that's how I see FEMA. FEMA has never been set up with true leadership in mind and true structure and true forward thinking. They're always in response. They're responding to what's happening, not looking forward to how do we get better. That is just the way FEMA is run. And with the way that the administration changes and it's all political, all that crap that goes along with it, it really does halt any progress that could take place within FEMA, because they're always responding to a disaster. And it's based off of that ongoing response-driven operation that they weren't prepared for. Now a change is coming. Now, so they're always waiting to be told what to do, to where to go, what disaster to go to and operate and work on next. And instead of being a true organization that runs in such a way that they can operate in such independently and actually operate without having to wait for what to do next, is led to where they are today. So that's why I believe there's definitely a need for restructuring. I don't feel that they should go away whatsoever. I don't feel like we don't need FEMA. We absolutely need FEMA. But we need it to be restructured and operated differently. It's been operated strictly under what's next, what's right in front of us, what's next, tell me where to go, what disaster do I need to report to, and we need to change that. We need to be more forward and future thinking. Response is always going to be an issue, always going to be a problem that FEMA is going to be there to work on, or at least we hope. But there's a lot more to emergency management than response.
Absolutely.
And when you build an organization strictly around it, there are problems when you need prevention and preparedness and mitigation and recovery. And when leadership changes so often based off of politics, we should be able to operate in despite of that change.
And
so you know what I'm talking about? Am I saying
I agree 100% on that. As far as it should be definitely that the position in the organization, and for the most part, 99% of it is apolitical. And I will say this much, but what you saw in that gap, right, of where we weren't, with FEMA having the way it is right now, and yes, I think everybody in emergency management, and I can't always the broad brush in that, would agree that there has to be reform done to FEMA, and we could debate on how that looks. But one of the things that I thought was great that came out of this is that the International Association of Emergency Managers stepped up and pushed through the emergency management awareness, appreciation, and awareness month for August. Last year was the first year of doing it, and IEM had a couple of days where the organization hit the hill, knocked on doors, and started building relationships with the congressional members and the senators up there, and are making a difference in giving direction of what emergency management looks like in the future here in the United States. And I think that's where, when there was a gap in leadership, IEM stepped up and took the bull by the horns and said, we're going to do some things.
No, I agree. And I was 100% behind that, on board with that. We help push the message here at EMN Media as well. We expect to do even more of that this next year. I mean, in our inaugural year, our first year of it, it was our first annual Emergency Management Awareness Month. So we definitely expect a lot more to take place, for us to be doing a lot more this year. I would definitely challenge those who work in the field, those who consider themselves true emergency managers and emergency management professionals, to really push that. But it's not 1 month a year,
right?
And it's we got to be doing it every month. But to have that month to rally around, and National Preparedness Month, so we have, in all reality, we have 2 full months there that we can really be pushing content.
I want to read what Adam has to say. And Adam, thank you for the comments. His local emergency managers now are having to prepare for, mitigate against, respond to, recover from lack of leadership and broken policies at the federal and state level. Really taking focus and time away from the need, from what we need to do, to be preparing for. And I agree with you there, Adam.
I agree with him to what he said, but I also would go further to say that it's the local emergency managers should be doing that as well. And when you're completely reliant on the federal government's leadership, you will see that now we are at that level. We have dropped the ball as local emergency managers in the city, county, state. We shouldn't be reliant on anybody else. We should be working to make ourselves completely sustainable. We ask for help when we need it, but we don't expect it. And we do not rely on it as part of our job. When managers completely reliant on the state or the federal government to come in and help, that is where I drop the ball.
I think, Dan, I think the difference what he's talking about, I don't think he's saying that we need to be relying upon federal state for the response side of it. But when we're looking at large scale policy,
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. There should be policy at that level. We're going to make more. We're doing really great. IAM is doing really good at that too.
Right.
But there are policies and stuff that need to be developed at the local level. I mean, cities and counties, they initiate these policies too. A lot of it is adopted by what the federal government does or does not do. But there are policies that need to be put in place at the city and county level that emergency managers can advocate for.
Yeah, that's true. But we just can't have conflicting policies between cities, and that's when the county comes in to coordinate, and the state level policies of weather.
No, I agree. I'm not saying he's wrong at all. I'm not saying.
Right.
I think what he said is absolutely correct. I think we just need to go a little bit further down to the local emergency managers to say that we should be doing that anyway. Not to say that we have to do it. We should have been doing it anyway.
Right, and that's the other side too. Is we take a look at these standards that are set, right? And where are they set at? Are they set at the state level? Are they set at the federal level? We'll look at local hazard mitigation plans, for instance, right? That is set at the federal level. This is if you need to do these, you need to have this plan set and written properly to the point to where you get to, in order to get federal monies, right? That's the policy that we have to be looking at. And without that guidance, or with wishy-washy guidance or guidance that changes all the time, it makes it really hard for us to be able to do that. So I think you're right. When we're talking about what does the federal government do compared to the ground, hopefully not in the ground, the ground level emergency managers that are out doing work on the daily with their community. Yeah, we can still do that, right? And that's what we should be doing, and we should be focusing on getting into the community. We've talked about this a bazillion times here, and doing capacity building and really helping the community be ready in all sorts of levels, right? Whether it's personal preparedness, community preparedness, business preparedness, and then build the response capacity as well, right? That's what we should be doing. We should not be worrying about creating and writing federal level policy.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we should help with it. Our voice matters in those areas. They shouldn't be writing it for us. But yes, I 100% agree with that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about this a lot with this year in review. We've been talking for almost 20 minutes. Basically because, this has been the biggest story, of emergency management in the United States, has been this story. We can take a look at, we've had some disasters across the United States, starting with the hurricane that hit North Carolina almost a year ago. We got the fires that hit, or what I guess the tornadoes or the floods in North Carolina were a year ago. And then next month, it's going to be 1 year since the fires and the Palisades in Eaton, right? That's big news for my area. I'm here in Los Angeles.
That's what really kicked this whole thing off with Trump, originally saying, President Trump saying that he was going to do a real, take a real strong look at FEMA. And that in itself, those words started the mess that we now see with the FEMA reform and all this other stuff.
Well, that had a lot to do with North Carolina, right?
Well, initially it was there was North Carolina, but then with the fires, it was more about it was the response of the state, and then so it was criticism of that, and then how the reliance on FEMA, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, the North Carolina and Tennessee issues that were happening in December, from the, I don't remember, I think was it Helen, or what was the hurricane?
Honestly, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
In the comments, let me know what the hurricane was. But when that hit them, one of the problems that we had, and I think it was Florida as well, right? That there was all these rumors that were hitting about FEMA, and then there was that one that came out that was saying that the FEMA workers weren't giving aid to anybody who had Trump signs in their yards. Remember those stories that were breaking? Yeah, and that happened in December, and then to boot, we got the fires in January that occurred. Here in Los Angeles County.
Yeah, I think it boils down to, as we go and as in emergency management, and we've talked about this before. We've addressed it several times. When politics really does take effect, and it does mess things up. Politics should never dictate how we respond to, prepare for, engage with a community. Whether they voted for Trump, Biden, or whoever, our role is to be completely apolitical. We're there to help. We're there to support. We're there to coordinate. I don't care who you voted for. My job is to help. And when you have people making it very political, and we are such a politically divided country, more and more, every year we get more and more divided by politics. And it is getting absurd. I mean, completely absurd. I mean, not even getting, we're there. We're past, we are past absurdity when it comes to politics. That you would literally to say that you hate somebody because they voted for somebody else that you don't agree with, or that you would kill somebody because you don't believe in their politics. We had a political assassination last year based off of politics. It's past absurdity. And when you have everything being driven by politics, we're never going to get anywhere, because the next political vote changes it. So it's one of those things that we're constantly having to overcome. And as an emergency manager, it shouldn't matter what my political belief is for me to do my job.
I don't have any political beliefs. I have zero. Zero.
I have nothing to say to you about that.
So, man, I'm looking just some of the crazy top stories that we've had here. You know, we had northeastern winter storms last year. We had hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, fires. I mean, we had it all last year as far as disasters go. You know, one of the things that we really need to start looking at as well is, and this is kind of, I want to go change our hat here. We did the year in review. We spent a lot of time on the biggest story, which is was FEMA. What is your predictions for 2026, Daniel?
Predictions as far as what goes?
Just life. What's happening? What's going to happen in emergency management?
Well, we're definitely going to hear more on FEMA for sure. That's definitely, even though it's been pushed to the new year, there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of desire to hear what's going to happen there. So we'll continue to hear about that. We're going to see more activity at the city, county, and state levels when it comes to emergency management. And I say activity, there are going to be things that are going to stop being done, other things that are going to start being done in anticipation of what might happen, which ultimately will lead to, I think, a direction where we need it to be anyway, where we're not as self-reliant, or we're not as reliant on others, and we are more self-reliant in those areas. I think the disaster scenarios that we are used to facing will increase this next year. Fires are going to be worse. Flooding is going to be worse. The winter weather is going to be worse. And it's all going to be because the weather is not behaving the way that it normally does. It's when it's warmer when it should be colder. It's colder when it should be warmer. It's raining when it's normally not. It's drier and more like last year, the fires that took place, they were saying how unprecedented it was because of the time of year.
January.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, man. I think those little things like that everybody considers to when I would talk about in the news that it's going to be unprecedented, which is not. We're going to hear a lot more about that. But we never would have predicted this. It was unprecedented that it would have happened this type of year. We're going to see a lot more of that. On top of the building angst of politics and domestic terrorism.
Ooh.
So there's a lot happening there that people may not know about. There's a lot happening there that we're seeing in the news. There's a lot more going on that we don't really necessarily think about every day. And I think we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more about that.
We just had a news story break last week or just before Christmas, so 2 weeks ago, where a terrorist cell, called the Turtle Island Liberation something, a bunch of environmental people were fixing to do some bombing during New Year's Day, some of the celebrations here in Southern California. So yeah, that's there you go. Kind of proves your point. First of all, we have in my world, I have the NBA All-Star Game happening. I have the World Cup coming to Los Angeles. We have the World Cup coming to North America. 16 cities are going to be impacted by it. So we got, Seattle, you got San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, Toronto, Vancouver, New York City, Philadelphia, Miami. I'm trying to think of it. If I missed some of those cities, Mexico City in North America. I'm trying to think of anything else that was hit. If I missed your city, I apologize. That are all planned for FIFA. And so that's going to be hugely impactful on emergency management. We're going to have a lot of cool lessons learned for that, because that is preparing us for the upcoming Olympics that will be happening. So predictions for 2020, for 2026, almost a 2016, for 2026 is we're going to be very, very busy with lots of crazy international events happening here across the United States. And so I know we're going to be super busy on that, and I'm not going to predict any kind of disasters, but I definitely know that we're going to be super busy. And I think we're going to see us as emergency management. I think we're going to be highlighted again. And my prediction is that we have a great 2026 with an even better emergency management advocacy month in August for 2026. And we're going to be making inroads across the United States. That's my prediction for 2026. So, hey, man, we're 6 minutes and 50 some odd seconds over what we normally do. For everybody who stuck with us the entire time, I do appreciate you all. Dan, I'll let you take us out. And as always, everybody, please stay safe and stay hydrated.
Awesome. Yes, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Please stay tuned at EMN. We have a lot going on. As Todd mentioned, we have a lot of planned events happening over the next year, but the unplanned events is the ones that we're always anticipating. There are lots going on within inside EMN Media. We have new writers joining. We have events happening. We have a webinar we're doing in March. Theory and Practice is doing a summit in January, 8th and 9th, 2-day leadership summit. And we already have 10 speakers lined up. It's going to be great. We have a lot happening inside our network. As far as EMN Media goes, we are growing, and we expect to go even further than we even imagine right now. As we plan for this 2026 and plan for these planned events, and then these unplanned events, and then these conferences and advocations and writings and so much more, stay tuned. Write to us. Comment on our materials. Please feel free to reach out to us with ideas or comments that we could do or change, make things better. Our goal is to also for you to be safe in everything that you do. Once again, as New Year approaches and you guys are celebrating, be safe, stay hydrated, and we will talk to you next year.
When the sirens scream out loud, we're the voice that breaks the cloud. Heads held high when things go wrong. We'll guide you through with strength and song. Disaster strikes without a sound. Chaos reigns, but we're around. Public safety in our hands. Steady, strong in every land.